How does it work, having an emotion that translates itself through sound, through someone's hands on a piano or another instrument? I have my example as a painter. It starts with an image, and the result will be an image. Is that true? Or does it start before that image, and is there an emotion in an earlier state? Composer Zach Sprowls discovered my work on the web, and it felt so common for him, like home. And isn't there anyone that helps you, a coach?
Well, I found somebody named Titus.
What did he teach you? Although he's located at the other side of the ocean, our emotions and fascinations felt familiar. I was touched by his music. It sounded like typically film music from those American movies. So American, so not Dutch. What I like in film music is that it's describing music. It evokes not only emotions but scenes as well. Zach's music evokes nature scenes, streaming water, falling leaves in a New York park. For me, those kind of music is the best to work with or listen to during a long road trip. We met at Morren Galleries Dependance to do some piano recordings, and we had several conversations in my studio and Morren Galleries on camera.
You learn the rules so that you can break them. YouTube had showed me your videos.
Yeah.
And I was immediately captured by the paintings that were just showing up on the thumbnail. And then I would watch them and felt a kind of kinship with the way that you approach your creativity as a painter with the same way that I approach my creativity from a musician. Even though they're two very different art forms, I was feeling this synchronicity between us. And your paintings were so deeply moving to me and evocative to me. I would feel the same things from a painting of yours that I might feel from a song of mine. And so I felt I need to reach out to you and see if I could be a part of what you're doing, at least meet you, but maybe be a part of what you're doing, provide some music for your videos or whatever, because it just felt so, I was getting that feeling, that inspiration that usually sends me to the piano to start playing something. I was getting that from your videos, and so I wanted to be a part of it. My son, who is 7 years old, is very creative, and he will spend hours playing with his Legos or looking at bugs in the backyard. And I often draw inspiration from just watching him and his complete focus and just complete abandon to what he's doing and his fascination with it in the moment. And it will last for hours. And he has no concern about what his schedule is that day, what bills he has to pay, what other people around him are doing. And it's just the wonder. He's just following his wonder.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to produce a product at the end of it that he can then go out and sell somewhere. Mm-hmm. It's just pure, unadulterated wonder.
Yeah.
And that really inspires me. I think sometimes when I go into my studio, I often think, my son's name is Darren. I often think, what would Darren do?
Yeah.
What would he do in this moment? How would he enter the studio and spend his day here if he were me?
I'm really curious how this piano will sound.
Yeah. It's a really nice piano too.
Great.
I've never played a Zimmerman.
That sound of your piano that I hear the most in your song sounds a little like a prepared piano. Is that true?
Yeah, I use felt on my recordings. And actually, I just did a set of recordings with burlap. So what I'm doing, and it's common in the neoclassical world, is you put a piece of felt between the hammers and the strings. Yeah. And you do this on an upright piano, because an upright piano, the strings go up and down, and so you can dangle fabric between the strings and the hammers, and it will give a kind of muted sound.
How thin is this felt?
Well, the felt I used on the recordings that up to this point was pretty thick.
Really?
Yeah.
And have you push hard the keys for it then?
Usually what you do is you just turn the microphones up.
Really? Okay. So it sounds very low, very soft.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then what that ends up doing is it makes the microphones pick up all the mechanical noise of the piano.
Yeah.
And you get, the pedal going up and down, the hammers sliding, all the mechanisms there. And that gives a kind of human aspect to it, because you're not just hearing the music, you're also hearing the physicality of the instrument and when the pianist is raising and lowering the pedal and things like that. And I really love that sound.
So it's one plate, it's one piece of filth, not every hammer, but one.
Correct.
You just hang it.
Strip about this tall, and you just hang it.
Sounds really primitive. You just took the scissors.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
That sounds great.
And then recently I tried burlap. Do you have burlap here?
I don't know what burlap is.
So it's a material. The only thing that's coming to mind is it's a material that they might transport potatoes in. It's like a rough fabric.
Jute. Yeah. And the old mail bags maybe for daily mail and
Yeah. So it's like
quite rough.
Yeah, exactly. And it's porous.
Yeah.
It's not very tightly woven.
And how did you call this?
Burlap.
Burlap.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I used that recently, and I really liked it because it's thinner than felt, and it's rougher than felt, and so I'm still getting that kind of intimate sound, but I can still get a large dynamic range.
Oh yeah.
So the problem with felt is on my loud songs, you just hear a bunch of smacking.
Yeah.
I can't get the volume out of the piano that I want, and you just hear the hammers smacking the felt. But with burlap, I can get the dynamic changes that I want and not lose that intimate sound. I don't know totally where this comes from. I think some of it comes from the work ethic of my family going back generations. Some of it could come from just American society and post-industrial in a post-industrial culture. But I just feel like I need to get a lot done every day in order to prove my worth. And if I don't get a lot done, I feel very guilty. And usually, and that a lot, when I say that, is a very arbitrary thing. It's whatever I feel like that morning when I get up, I need to get done that day. And some days that's more than other days. And it's usually not based in any reality, in any reality of what I really actually need to get done or what I'm capable of getting done. It's just this construct.
And this is not about creating. This is about organizing, putting your music somewhere out of your recording studio and let people hear it.
Yeah. It can also be about creativity. It can be about it's just about getting things done. So sometimes that's administrative tasks.
But it could be writing a piece of music too.
Yeah, and can be really destructive, because when you put that pressure on yourself to create something within a certain amount of time, that's not how that works. So when I get too in my head, then so the irony of it is that usually when I'm trying, and this is the case for me, when I'm trying not to be productive at some creative endeavor, I end up being more creative because I'm creating without any sense of expectation or pressure to get something done in a certain amount of time. So usually when I'm most relaxed and when my to-do list is the smallest, I actually get the most done.
So you reveal the secret for yourself.
Yeah. But the minute I see that and I try to manufacture it, it all starts over again. Because then I'm like, then I think, as I'm looking at an empty page that's going to be filled with my to-do list for the day, I think I'll write down, okay, don't be task-oriented, or get this done by lunchtime, by not trying to get it done by lunchtime. And, it's just
But
backwards.
is this really a daily habit? It starts in the morning?
Well, yeah, it can, it used to be worse. And with meditation and mindfulness, it's really improved a lot. And I'm not nearly as bad about it as I used to be, even just a few years ago.
How worse has it been, if I may ask?
Well, basically what I'm describing to you is what it was like every day.
You really wrote that down every morning.
I would write down
what Zach Sprowls must do today.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, you felt too bad because you were not good enough to...
Virtually every day, because I would always overestimate what I could accomplish in a day. And I would always put down what I wanted to accomplish, not what I could accomplish. And I'd never meet that standard. So it was debilitating.
Yeah.
So almost every day it was discouraging.
And isn't there anyone in your surroundings or the internet that helps you, a coach or someone? Because there are people who really know how this process works, and they can teach you how to handle yourself through the day. But you didn't find anyone.
Well, I found somebody named Titus.
Oh, I don't
on
know
YouTube.
What did he teach you?
Well,
I'm really curious.
Watching the way that you go about your creative work, I think I discovered your videos right about the time that I was like really making some progress on my own in this area. And you watching the way that you work was like, that's how I want to work. There's a kind of zen to it, peaceful, kind of taking things as they come, letting the work take the time that it takes. If a painting needs to be redone, it doesn't have to ruin your day. You just start over.
Mm-hmm.
Or if the weather is not cooperating, the weather's not cooperating. That's where this tattoo comes in.
Yeah.
As is, just taking the day as is. And I saw you actually living that out through the videos. Mm-hmm. So that was inspiring to me.
Because in the beginning you only enjoyed creating music, I guess. It was only fun.
Yeah. Yeah, making music has always been fun.
Yeah. But to get into that music, you were...
Yeah, so it starts off...
To get yourself further away from it with a different idea about it. You thought you had to do your best and to work hard.
Yeah, it's... at first, even as a kid, you make music or you make your art because it's just what you want to do, and there's no deadline, there's nobody paying you to do it, there's nobody looking over your shoulder, you're just doing it because it's fun. And then, for me, that led to saying, I want to do this for a career. And then I go to college, and college is what college is, and then graduate, and then I start doing it as my living, and everything changes because now I have deadlines and the pressure to provide for myself and my family. And I have clients now, and if I don't please the client, if I don't do a good job for them, then they may not come back, or they might say something bad about me to another potential client. So you just feel that pressure. Now it's not just something you do in your free time because you want to. Now it's something that is your daily job.
Yeah, I know how that pressure feels, but as long as I know it is only pressure, and I'm thankful that it's my pressure and not that manager's pressure, I'm fine with it. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, one thing that's really helped me is to realize that the pressure I was feeling though deadlines are real, it was 99% pressure that I was putting on myself, that I do put on myself, not from the client, because usually I'm trying to exceed expectations, not just meet them. So the client that I'm working for might say, I need this in 2 weeks, and in my mind I think, well, I'm going to get it done in 1 week. And then that's the pressure I feel. And at the end of the day, people aren't just walking around constantly thinking about me. And I wonder what Zach, the guy that I paid to do this, is doing right now.
No, you're just a part of the project.
Yeah, and so it's actually kind of a narcissistic way of going about life to think, to kind of put that pressure on yourself, because it assumes that everybody else is thinking and obsessed with you and what you're doing or not doing, when everybody else has their own life to live and their own work to work. And so at the end of the day, I mean, the number of clients that are unhappy with my work are very, very, very few, because if I do what I was asked to do, that's all that anybody expected of me. Yeah. And of course I'm doing that. Yeah. So, yeah, realizing that it's just the pressure I'm putting on myself that I'm feeling. And then, I journal a lot, so journaling that out and telling myself, no, Zach, what you're telling yourself is not true. That person isn't thinking about you right now. That isn't the relationship you have with them. That deadline isn't a real one. That's one you made up. That, things like that. It has really helped me.
I mean, is it harder? Is it hard for you to deliver those clients where you are used to deliver? I mean, that level, that quality, or is it? You know what I mean? Is it easy for you to deliver something that you've been creating for years now?
You mean, is it hard to let it go, or like?
It sounds like you think about a Zach that someone found because of his creations, his music, and they like his style, and they asked him to join for a project, and then you sound like you think you have to push very hard to deliver a higher quality than you ever delivered. Is that right, or am I wrong?
Yeah. Yeah, that is right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I can easily get caught in this cycle where trying to create in that mindset doesn't really produce anything very good.
Because there is an imaginary level.
Yeah.
And the level only exists after the process.
Yeah.
So you're playing, messing around and creating, and then after a month you can say, this was a higher level. And maybe after half a year you don't agree anymore. You say, no, it wasn't at my best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually it's funny how it works. It's the projects where I didn't have enough time to worry about it. Something that needed to be done really fast.
There's no time to think.
There's no time to think, and I just delivered something really quick because it was required. It's usually those that I look back and think, that was really good.
Yeah.
Like the product I came up with was really good. And, I've learned from that over the years now that what was happening was I wasn't thinking about it, and I was letting my intuitions write the thing, and it always ends up in a better place. And the process itself is much easier. It's much less strenuous. And so, I've learned to tap into that kind of intuitive writing, and I'm learning more when I'm in that mindset that is obsessed and in my head, and I can just stop and go and rest or meditate or go for a run or something like that, and restart later from a better place.
So we need to be in a relaxed, open-minded way of being, without any distractions, and then there it will come. What is our position and what are our shares in this situation? Are we a direct object? We need a lot to reach something that needs us? Do we have control ourselves? If not, we could let the computer create art. AI can do it in a few seconds and it almost looks and sounds the same. What's the difference? And is there control in this way of being, in this way of working? Do you need any control?
Well, no, you don't. You don't need it. You can't. I mean, the attempt to have control or exercise control is kind of a farce, right? We don't have control over our lives and their circumstances and how we feel and what is going to come out of us. And so a lot of being creative or endeavoring in something creative requires letting go of the attempt to control. So our friend Rick Rubin, whose book we like, talks a lot about this.
Yeah.
And it's just letting go and letting our intuitions. Suzanne, who we talked about earlier, talked about that. You want to write before you start thinking about it, or paint in her case. You want to paint before you start thinking about it, because as soon as you start thinking about it, you're going to lose it.
Yeah. And it's a different thing than just, now I really sound like an old teacher, but it's a different thing than just only playing and spending time with your hobbies. It's a more focused way on that what you really love and that what fascinates you, I think, and you are learning who you are and when you are at your best. I think it's something like that. You need to be able to work hard. So you need your discipline and you need your approach to develop all that, and then it can be fun. Really, it can be fun to joyfully let it come.
Mm-hmm.
Last week I had a discussion with my brother and his wife about intuition, because it's hard to explain what it is. I thought that I could explain it in the way that intuition is maybe a way of seeing, feeling, experiencing, not only from yourself, not only with yourself, but that you suddenly in one moment you completely understand what's going on and what you have to do, and you can't explain it. There is no time. It is immediately there, as if you feel connected with everything and everyone, just in a split second. And then you don't think what you do, but you do what you have to do, and you can save lives with this. And I told my brother and his wife, they are both musicians, that I'm learning more and more, like we are talking about now, that it's maybe only about this. And I thought that their best performances with the orchestra were maybe only those moments that the director didn't have to do that much, because they could intuitively, is that an English word? Intuitively work together, and there were no notes on a piece of paper anymore, but they were into the music. And he agreed, but he told me that musicians have to study, and he said that it has nothing to do with music, just studying on your instrument. Or he described me a performance with a piano, and they did rehearsals with the closed grand piano, and then they did the performance and the piano opened, and then immediately had to adapt his way of playing. I didn't agree. I think when you hear that a piano plays louder and you know how to play your cello, that the volume matches perfectly with the piano, I think it's nothing else than intuition. You can't teach anyone. This is the way you play with the piano. This is the way you play with an orchestra. And we were in doubt. So it's really hard to see that borderline. So this is intuition and this is not. And I don't know what else it is when you create. I think it's intuition for 99%, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm learning that more and more.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I hear this a lot from musicians about they question the value of things like getting an education in music, taking lessons, learning technique and theory and history and things like that. And it's true that the people who kind of downplay those things say that, that's not what music is ultimately at the end of the day. Music, and some of the greatest music ever made, is music that changes people and makes people feel something very deeply, and can capture a feeling or the essence of something. And you don't learn that in your classes. And yet at the same time, I think all of those things they're like tools in a toolbox, where they do serve in the hands of a skillful artist. They do serve the purpose of intuition. In that, say for instance, I feel something that I want to communicate on the piano. And it requires me to move quickly through a key. Well, if I don't have the developed technique and finger independence and strength, and I've never learned to use my pinky, and so I really only have 4 usable fingers on each hand anyway, and I'm not good at using 2 hands independently, then I'm not going to be able to translate what I'm intuitively feeling onto the piano. In the same way with theory, and not just music theory in general, but even things like compositional theory and how to write music in different genres and for different instruments, and spending those hours studying the different ranges of every instrument in the orchestra and their tonal differences and the different instructions you can give them. Then if I hadn't studied all of that, then I would never be able to write for those things.
No.
Or I would never be able to express my intuitions in those contexts. Yeah. And so there's certainly a value in studying those things and learning them. There's a huge value. But then the flip side of the coin, I can't remember who said it or how they said it, but the idea is you learn the rules so that you can break them.
Okay.
So, to go back to your brother with the cello and the piano, the cellist will spend decades learning and studying all of these things, but then in the moment, they're going to throw all of that away and let their intuitions take over, knowing that they have these tools that are going to enable their intuition to have so much more power. But an effective performer or an effective composer or an effective painter isn't going to just write from their technique. They're going to write from their intuition. They're going to perform from their intuition. Yeah. And the technique just serves that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good lesson. You need to learn the rules to break them later. Yeah, so you know how they taste.
Yeah.
You know that they work really well, so you know how to work with several tools, techniques.
Yeah.
And when it's up to you to work with it, you can break the rules because you make your own rules and you know how it works. It's really kind of Rick Rubin theory.
I don't know if we want to talk about AI, but this is the thing about AI that doesn't scare me at all in terms of it being a threat to artists, is that AI just has to function on rules.
Yeah.
And art is always about breaking rules.
Yeah.
And so AI can always imitate artists. It can imitate rules, or it can follow rules. And it can imitate people who break rules, but it can't break rules itself. yeah, it doesn't scare me. It doesn't make me feel like an artist of any kind job is at risk ultimately, because maybe certain kinds of jobs within artistic fields, but I think human-made art is always about seeing things that nobody else does see, and it's about breaking rules, and it's about expressing something unique. And I don't think it's certainly not the way AI is now, with being based on large language model, I think is the acronym, models. It's impossible for it to do that. You know, it's just getting all of its material from what has already been made.
It's only outside, maybe, AI. It only looks like art.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's no reason. There's no urge.
There's no message it's trying to communicate.
Yeah.
There's no expression, self-expression.
No, I think it's there's no risk, no danger for artists, in my opinion, since AI is really developing. People ask it sometimes, aren't you afraid because a computer can make a painting in 2 or less minutes? But my answer is the same. I think people will only wonder more real art, real music, because it's a totally different way of making, and it's true, there is a message in it. Yeah.